We are starting my favorite part of Cisco training today. All those long stories I've been telling you guys, I know they enjoy those stories. I just they talk the stories because we need to learn those stories. Practical is my favorite part. When I teach and there's something to show you guys how it works and all of that, that's my favorite part. So today we want to start talking about configurations of routers and switches, but we're going to start with switch first. So then we'll move to router in our next class. I have a lot of videos that we're going to go through together. But for the basic configuration, I'm still going to teach like this live. Then subsequent classes, maybe in 1 or 2 weeks, then we'll be going through different technologies and then I'll be using those recordings to teach you guys. So what do we want to do in today's class? We want to learn how to configure a switch. Basic configuration, not advanced, because we're going to go to advanced later. So do we really need to configure a switch before we can use it? Take note of that. That's my question. The answer is no. What do we use a switch to do? We use a switch to be the local area network, so I can just drop a switch like this, connect maybe 4 computers, Roland, Aliyu, Benga, Toby, and we give them IP addresses. And guess what? These computers will talk to themselves. They will talk to themselves. Know that we're not talking internet now, guys. They will communicate. If we like now, let's say we now drop a server here. Let's say like all those jam server. Back in those days, I don't know what jam used to do now. When they go to all the location with a server. So where the questions will be the students will write the exams from. So let's say now all of our one write jam now. All jam needs to do is just to plug their server to this switch. And then they give us the IP address of the server. We'll launch our browser. We'll log in. Will have been created with our details, username and password. We go the right exam. And guess what? We did not configure the switch. So the point I'm trying to make today in this part is this. Your switch can work as plug and play. When I say plug and play, just buy it, drop it, plug things to it, and it start working. As a matter of fact, some switches are only plug and play, meaning you can configure them. Any switch you can configure, we call the switch managed switch. Manage switch, meaning you can manage it. Manage in the sense that you can configure it, you can put an IP address, you can put a name, you can log in into that switch from anywhere in the world, as long as you have public IP and so on and so forth. But don't ever forget this. Your switch can be used as plug and play. Just plug it, plug computers to it, give computer IP addresses, and you're good to go. That's number one. Take note of that. So now that we want to go beyond that, because that's what I just explained now, that is for the roadside engineers or kindergarten stage. So if you see any network engineer that does not do anything about switch configuration, it means the person doesn't have CCNA. They don't have CCNA. They don't know anything about CCNA. They just know how to use a switch to build a local area network. That's all. But your training is beyond that. You got to configure a switch. And the good news I have for you guys is by the time I'm done teaching you all this configuration of switch router and all of those technology on Cisco platform, any platform in the world, you can handle it. This same thing I'm telling you is what I told Kunle at the initial stage when we were doing training. He said, what if you get a job and the people are not using Cisco switch? I said, you don't have a problem. Cisco is your guy at the top. Once you can handle the guy at the top, all the small boys below, they are just a walkover. And down the road, he got a job. One of his new jobs, he happens to be working with Aruba switches. Even me that is training you now, I've never worked on Aruba switch. I've never seen it. He has worked on Aruba switch. He has worked on HP switch, and he doesn't have a problem because the concept remains the same regardless of the vendor. Once you know Cisco, you are good to go. But I don't just want to start configuring without introducing the switch to you guys. So when you talk about a switch, you guys have known the switch to be a layer 2 device. We use it to aggregate connection. It is smart and it can make decision. But I need to also introduce you guys to something about the switch. The switch, as you see it, guys, is a special purpose computer. Take note of that. Special purpose computer. Meaning, it has a CPU, it has a RAM. At least you guys are familiar with this thing. Thank God you did A plus. It has a CPU, it has a RAM, it has a board. I don't want to call it motherboard now. You are familiar with all of this thing. It has a ROM. You are familiar with this one. The only thing you are not familiar with that the switch has is what we call NVRAM. Non-volatile random access memory. This is equivalent to your regular hard drive. So in that sense, the switch is just a hardware, but for us it is called a special purpose computer made for a special operation to aggregate connection to help us share distribute information between computers that are connected to that device. Now you are seeing why I'm always emphasizing on the need for people to do A plus. Now I don't have to crack my brain and start teaching you what is the job of a CPU, what is the job of a RAM, what is a board, what is a RAM. Even this NVRAM is equivalent to the hard drive, but we don't call it the storage in a switch hard drive. We call it non-volatile random access memory. This is if I'm introducing you to the hardware part of the switch now. It has a CPU, it has a RAM, it has a board, it has a ROM, it has NVRAM, and everything you need about a regular computer and all these components that I've mentioned right now is the same thing with your switch. The CPU is processing the data. The RAM is storing, just like when we store operating system in the RAM or an application in the RAM. So I'm coming to that also. And the switch has ports. You must have seen all of those things when we are connecting computer to the switch. It has port. All of these ports are just regular network card that is like the card that is on a computer. Multiple network cards on the switch, so I can connect computer like card to cards to the network card of the computer. That's just a physical component of the switch. So don't forget this. Our switch is a special purpose computer, and these are all the things that the switch has on it. Am I communicating, guys?
Yes, sir.
I hope you guys are not hearing the noise entering the. Is there? Are you hearing any noise?
There's no noise, no, sir.
No,
Okay,
sir. No, sir.
beautiful, beautiful. My neighbor just on his generator, so we still live in Nigeria. Toby doesn't understand what we are going through here. Toby, if they
Yes,
take
sir.
light in your area now, you people be scared. You be think it's a terrorist attack, but we are used to light going on off here.
So I've been in Nigeria for a while now.
But now you have lost all those thoughts. Now you no go remember all these things again.
um, sure.
Somehow,
Yeah, somehow.
yeah. All right, so let's move on, guys. So when you talk about the switch, it's a special purpose computer. That's number one. And I've given you the hardware components that you need to understand on the switch. But I'm going to on those hardware, I'm going to make a lot of. Sorry, there's one more I didn't mention. Flash. This has what you call a flash. Flash is also something else. So we have NVRAM, we have flash, and I'm going to talk more on these three components, and you will see the way I will relate them together now. So I'm introducing you guys to the switch. Just like what we discussed about computer has a computer is a hardware, it has operating system, it has application. It's the same thing with all these devices that are out there. Even your surveillance camera has an operating system, has hardware. Some of them even have internal storage. It's the same concept. That's why I like A plus. Anything that can take input, accept input, and give output out, we call it a computer. It does not matter the version is coming in. You call it surveillance camera, call it a network device, call it a this. It doesn't matter. The concept is the same all over the world. As long as it's taking the concept of computer, you take input in, you give output out. You are going to see all of this system. I'm going somewhere. This switch I am telling you about now, it has an operating system. And this time around, the operating system of the switch is called Cisco IOS. That is for Cisco switch, guys. Cisco IOS, Cisco Internetwork Operating System. That is the operating system that runs on the switch. Cisco IOS, Cisco Internetwork Operating System. So the same way your computer runs Windows 10, Windows 11, Windows 8, Windows 7, normal computer, now our network device, that is for Cisco switch now, has an operating system. And the operating system it runs is called Cisco IOS. This one, now people used to hail Cisco. Cisco is this, Cisco is that, Cisco is big. The main thing about Cisco, guys, is this operating system, not the hardware. It's like now, what makes Microsoft Microsoft? Why is Microsoft that popular? Microsoft is very popular because of Windows. And Windows runs on different laptops, HP, Dell, Lenovo, what have you, all kinds of laptops all around the world. So everybody, most people run Windows, all kinds of Windows. That's what makes Microsoft popular. It's not about the hardware. Anybody can come up with the hardware. So what really makes Cisco the king of routing, the king of switching, is the operating system, guys. Even though they are the one manufacturing the hardware, also they just go to China and contract it out, put the operating system in those devices, in the hardware, and that's it. So what really separated them or set them apart as a king in this thing is the operating system, guys. The operating systems are they're just fantastic. Don't ever forget that. So this switch has this operating system. Where is the operating system resident? Just like our regular computer. When we did A plus, I told you your operating system is seated in the hard drive. When you power your system, it is loaded into the RAM. It's the same concept here. This operating system for switch sits in a place we call flash. That is another storage there. It's permanent storage meant specifically for operating system. Unlike your computer where everything is sits in the hardware, the applications, your files, your folders. For switch, it's not like that. They have two permanent storage center. One is called flash. The other one is called NVRAM. So the operating system is loaded, is stored in the flash. The operating system is stored in the flash permanently. So what about this NVRAM? There's something called configuration file. Configuration files. What is the configuration file? Anything we configure on this switch is called a configuration file. For instance, now, when we enter into the switch right now, you see that the switch doesn't have a name. We are going to give the same name. Let's say CCNA. You see that the switch does not have an IP address. We're going to give the switch an IP address. Everything we configure on this switch is wrapped up together and is called configuration files. It's in a file. All our configurations are in a file. It's like you open a folder, or let me say a file. So whatever I'm doing right now, it is highlighted on a particular document. And guess what? This configuration file is stored in our NVRAM. So two things now. We have flash, we have NVRAM. They are both storage center. We have flash, we have NVRAM. And guess what? The operating system of the switch is stored in the flash. The configuration file of the switch is stored in the NVRAM. What is the operating system? You guys can relate to that now. What is the configuration file? Everything we configure on that switch is saved. When we save, let me put it that way. When we save, it's saved in NVRAM. You need to take note of that. So what about RAM here? When you power your switch, the operating system that is in the flash will load into the RAM. Guess what? Even the configuration file in the NVRAM will load into the RAM. Just like a regular computer. When you power your regular computer, the operating system lives in the hard drive. And the moment you power that computer, the operating system is loaded into the RAM. Not in the one in the hard drive is just a backup. When you shut down your system, the operating system that is in the hard drive is still there. And we have gone through all of these stages where we talk about BIOS, we talk about post, and all of those things. And funny as enough, even this switch does post too. That is to tell you that it's just like a regular computer. It does post. So now you are seeing how the dots are connecting. When I say do A plus, do A plus, A plus is good for you. You will enjoy it. It's very important for you. Just look at what we are discussing here right now. I am not struggling to explain some concept. I don't need to talk about post. I don't need to talk about BIOS because this guy also has a BIOS because it's just a regular computer. Just that we call it, sorry, it's a special purpose computer. It's not just like your regular computer that human being will sit down on it and begin to type or plug to it to browse the internet. But in a real sense of accepting input, making some decision, give output, that is a computer. These are the things I want you guys to understand. So when you see a switch, you should be able to tell me about the hardware parts. You should be able to tell me about the operating system. Be able to tell me about the configuration file and give me the connection between all of these things. When I say the connection, where is the operating system loaded? Where is it residing? Where does the configuration file state before I boot? When I boot, when it's coupled into the RAM, do I still have a backup in the NVRAM? Do I still have the operation in the flash drive? These are all the things you should be able to tell me, guys. Non-negotiable. And the same principle applies to a router. You see now when we're done with today's class, now by the time we come to the router configuration now, it's a walkover for me because I've already explained most of the concept here. Because the same thing applies to the router. The operating system is the same, hardware components the same. The only difference is one is a layer 2 device, the other one is a layer 3 device. And you're going to see how we'll configure that one when we get there. Any question, guys? If we're good, let me have thumbs up and we'll fire on. Benga, is it that you are raising up your hand or is thumbs up? I know. In the class that I'm teaching for Cisco, I know when I tell some people to give me thumbs up, they will go and they will go and be raising up their hands.
The mistakes I wanted putting.
I know it's a mistake. Yeah. Toby, what about you? Are you good? Ali, are you good?
Yes, sir. I don't do thumbs up.
I know they see your thumbs up. Oh.
Oh no, I don't do.
Nah, I leave it on today now.
Yeah,
Eh,
everybody they collect.
they
These are
collect.
my
Lah.
own.
So,
Eh,
everybody collect.
They
okay,
collect
so
glitch.
so if we are good, so let's move on, guys. So now I've given you introduction to the switch. You need to understand that. You can use the switch as plug and play, and you can as well configure the switch. But why would you want to configure the switch? Is it compulsory? It depends. For us in networking, I must configure my switch because I may want to manage that switch remotely. So we're going to see different reasons why we configure the switch. There are some technology we can use the switch to carry out. You'll soon see them, but we're going to go through the basics today. Let's see. So now, if I drop a switch in now, and I want to configure this switch, how am I going to configure this switch? What are the process? What are the steps? First thing first, I need to establish a physical connection to the switch. This is my computer. We use computer to configure the switch. You cannot configure the switch without computer. We use computer to configure the switch. And when I say we can't, that's the truth. So I need a computer. And of course, the switch that I want to configure, the switch, of course, must have been powered. I need to establish a physical connection with that switch, which we call console connection. Console connection. I need to establish a console connection. What do I mean by console connection? There is a cable called console cable. It's not like a regular network cable. I'm going to show you guys online. It's called a console cable, and you will see it on the packet tracer. We need that cable. There is a port on this switch called a console port. That is where we're going to connect to. And there is a port on our computer called, back in those days, guys, back in those days, nowadays we can use USB. Back in those days, we call it serial port. Serial port. So I need to get this cable. This is the console cable. And of course, connect to the console port on the switch. Let's bring a switch out and let me show you something, guys. Let's bring a switch out. Let me try to connect a computer to the switch. So I have a computer, I have a switch. You guys are aware of, you have seen me done this kind of things before. Now, watch out now. I want to carry a cable. I'll go to my connection. By the time I point at this cable here, this one with, which color is this one now? This is blue now. Am I correct? No, this is not blue. I'm colorblind sometimes, so Toby, what color is this?
Yeah, it's blue. I can
It's
see.
blue.
Yeah.
Okay, so now watch out. I've clicked the cable. Guys, watch out. I'm going to go to the laptop. When I click this laptop, look at all the ports that I have. This first port is what we use in the class. I've been saying I would try this USB. In the real world now, we use USB now. But back in those days, this is the only one we use because not all laptop have this port. This RS232. Modern day laptops don't have that port. They only have USB. So we connect to this RS232. Now watch out, guys. When I take that cable to the switch and click the switch, which port is the first port you are seeing up?
Port 1.
No. Look up.
Oh, okay, there's console.
Yes. Toby, can you
Console.
see the console?
Yes, sir.
Ali, can you see the console?
Yes.
That is the port we use for initial configuration of the switch. All of those other ports you are seeing, they are for network connection, meaning we want to browse or want to sort data. They are data ports. But the console port is called a management port. Management port. It's a port we can use to access the switch for the purpose of configuration. So we need to first of all establish this physical connection. After you establish the physical connection, then you need to also establish what is called a logical connection. Now, how do we establish a logical connection? I will go to this computer. I will launch a software call. In our days, we used to have hyperterminal. I will show you guys online. Or Teratam. Or PuTTY. Any of these three softwares. This used to be very popular when I was a student. In fact, it was integrated into Windows XP. Is it Windows XP? Yeah, Windows XP back then. But now it's no longer there. So if I want to get this, I want to use it for my student. I go and download private edition, some other people's own. Or I can download Ratram, or I can download PuTTY. So guys, take note. When you want to configure a switch or a router, you need to establish physical connection, and you also need to establish logical connection. This is one of the questions they asked Kunle for his first job that he got. And luckily, we did the preparation. And I happened to mention PuTTY to him in that preparation. Where he can configure, he can do everything very well, but just this basic stuff was not emphasized. And I blame myself for that. Because I too did not know which angle they could be coming from if you want to go for interview. But since after that is, I use my student to learn, they ask this kind of question, they ask that kind of question. So when I'm teaching, most of the questions that they have come across, I lay emphasis on that part. So you cannot establish connection with the router or the switch without using a software. And that software is to establish a logical connection. And these are all some of the softwares. I think I have PuTTY on my laptop. Let me see if I have not removed PuTTY. Yeah, I have PuTTY. I think I have PuTTY. So look at PuTTY here. Let me launch PuTTY for you to see. Look at how PuTTY looks like. This is PuTTY. Oh. This is PuTTY here. So supposing I want to configure a live switch right now or a live router, and I've established console connection to that device, then I will launch this PuTTY. I will launch the PuTTY. Then I can now decide, am I going to connect through SSH or serial connection? I'm going to talk about that later. So most of the time we do serial, like that RS232 or so is a serial connection. It's a kind of a serial port on the computer. Let me show you. RS232 ports. I think I've shown you guys before. Look at the ports here. Look at the ports here. So back in those days, we used to have these ports on the computer. But the cable that is going to go to the switch is different. It cannot just plug to this particular port here because the amount of the cable that we use in those days is RJ45, both end, RJ45, RJ45. You guys know what I mean by RJ45 now. That's mouth, that connector that we've discussed in the class. So in order for us to have a connection here, we use something called DB9. DB9 connector. It converts this serial ports to RJ45. Let me show you DB9. DB9 connector. See the connector here. So it helps us to convert one part of it, the serial port we can plug it, the other part is RJ45. So I'll plug my RJ45 here. The other end of the RJ45 go to the console port of the router or the console port of the switch. That's how we establish our physical connection in those days. Then let me even show you console cable, guys. Console cable. You see the modern day console cable we have right now. Look at this one here. This is what we use in the university now. One end of it is USB. The other end is RJ45. So USB goes to the laptop. Because laptops don't have that serial port again. So the other side of the RJ45 goes to the switch. This is the one we were using back in those days. And this is factory fitted. But if you don't have factory fitted, then you need that DB9 adapter in between. If you don't have factory fitted. So but nowadays, this is what we use. One side is USB, the other side is RJ45 to establish physical connection. So now let me show you how a hyperterminal environment look like. Hyperterminal. I don't have a hyperterminal again on my laptop. I used to have it. Okay, so this is what I'm looking for. So if you take a look at the image that is displayed here right now, I'm on the right here. When I launch my hyperterminal, this is the first icon you're going to see. This one here, that's how it looks. The first icon. Then I just give any name and I select the serial port I want to connect to. Most of the time we call it COM1. That is communication port 1. This is the main thing about hyperterminal. There are some default settings there that we must accept. Bit per second, 9600, data bit 8, parity none, stop bit 1, flow control. When we were students, they will say if you are configuring a router, leave everything like this. But if you are configuring a switch, select hardware under flow control. But nowadays, I see that thing doesn't make any difference. You just click OK and you are into the switch. That is for physical device. So watch out what I'm going to do right now, guys. Watch out now. Packet Tracer also has something to help us simulate that. So if I click this computer right now, watch, and go to desktop and come to terminal, that is our imaginary hyperterminal. Look at everything I showed you. So it means that computer that I carried that I want to use to configure, it has the hyperterminal inside. And that's why we went and clicked this terminal. And then all the settings are there by default. I don't need to do anything. Watch out. The moment I click OK like this, bam, I am inside the switch. And the first thing you're going to see in the switch, press return to get started. That is press enter. Hit enter like this, you are in the switch. The name of the switch is switch by default, but we will not accept this. We are going to change it as we proceed. Once you get to this is called command line, and I'm happy you guys are not new to command line. In Windows, we did command line stuffs in Windows. This is another command line. This is command line in the switch. You cannot come to this environment if you don't establish those two connections, the physical connection and the logical connection. And once you get here, you know you are good to go. Work done starts. Am I communicating, guys?
Yes, sir.
Toby, are we together?
Yes, sir.
Ali, are you on the road already?
No, I'm still here, sir. I'm still here.
Oh, okay. So are we good? Can we fire on?
Yes.
So once you get to this environment, we're good to go. We're in the switch. So now, this is where the work starts. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. So if you don't know, you get out of this environment. This is for the big boys, guys. This environment is for the big boys. There are some other things I'm going to show you guys later. Maybe not into this class. So now we're in the switch. The name of the switch is switch. And we have a prompt. What is a prompt? It's giving us an environment. And guess what? The first prompt that we have in that place with that greater than sign is what we call user executive mode. User executive mode. Let me write for you guys. Users executive mode. Sometimes we say exec mode. In this environment where we have with this sign here, greater than sign here, I can do some things like what? I'm going to show you. But I can't do anything major I cannot do here. I can't name the switch. I can't give the switch an IP address. So what are the things that I can do in this environment? And that's going to be part of your, what is it called it? Your assignment. I will drop the lab when we're done. Basic stuffs. If I want to see the basic things I can do here, I will just press question mark. Look at the question mark here. It shows me all the commands that I can issue in this environment. Look at them here. I can ping. That's one we do majorly from here. Look at ping here. I can ping in this environment. I can trace routes. I've used trace route for you guys before. Okay. I can disconnect. I can disable. I can connect. I will explain some of these commands as we proceed. So this is a limited environment. So sometimes if you are the big guy in the office, you give your junior engineer access to the switch, but you limit them to user executive mode. You don't allow them to go out of there. Why will you do that? Maybe you want them to be able to check some things for you when you are not around. Okay, can you ping? Can you do trace route? They can go inside and do some of those things. But you won't give them the keys to the kingdom where they can do damage. So we are not satisfied where we're here. We want to move to the next level. And guess what, guys? The command to move to the next level is this: enable. What will that command do? It will turn on privilege commands. We are going to elevate our privileges. We're going to have access to more commands. We'll be able to do more things. Oh, really? So let's check. So if I type enable now, enable, that's a command. Enable and hit enter. You see that my prompt has changed. The prompt changed from what? From greater than sign to pound sign. This one here is called user's mode, your user executive mode. This new prompt that we have here is called privilege exec mode or executive mode. So we are now at a privilege mode. So can we start forming big boy here? Not yet. Okay, what can we do here? Let's check it out again, guys. I'll put question mark again. You see that here now we have more commands. Anytime you see this more here, just press space bar on your keyboard or enter. Enter will take it one after the other, line by line. Space bar will show you every other thing left. So let me use enter. You see, as I'm using enter, it shows me more commands that are under, more command until I get to the end. Okay. So all the commands they put here, what's the big deal about this command? We use this a lot. You're going to see the use when we want to copy some configurations from our RAM into our NVRAM. We use this when we want to erase. We use exit. We use logout. We can ping from here too. We can reload. We can resume. Note, guys, that does not mean we're going to use all the commands you are seeing here. We're going to only use, there are popular ones, common ones that we're going to be using, because those ones we cannot do without them. Okay, we're also going to use trace route. It's all right. We're going to explore this command as we proceed. But guys, what I am trying to do here now, I want to give this switch a name. And I cannot give the switch a name where I am right now. I have to move to a higher level. I have to move to another realm. I need more privileges. So the name I want to get into now, look at the command I need to enter into that realm. Configure. I want to move into a realm called configuration mode. Configuration mode. That configuration mode is where I can begin to do wonders. I can begin to tell the switch what I want. Dance, don't dance, sleep, wake up. I can begin to do whatever I want to do with the switch. That's a good environment to be. So now I'll move on again. So look at the command here. The command is configure. You see that my when I'm typing, my commands complete fast, very fast. I'm using tab key. You're going to learn all this and as we proceed. So I will say configure terminal. I want to go to a different environment where I can do some wonders and hit enter. Guys, look at what I got here. My prompt change when we started this journey. This was what we met. Users mode. We navigated to privilege mode. Now we are in another mode. Look at what we have now. Config in bracket with pound sign. This is what we call global configuration mode. Global configuration mode, guys. From here now, I can begin to do some wonders. Let's do one before we learn how to go backward. Where we are right now, I put question mark again. You see the list of commands that we have here. More commands. If I hit enter, you will be seeing it. And you know one thing you know about this command, these commands have other commands inside of them. Most of them. Look at commands. Plenty commands from beginning. And you want to say maybe there are not that plenty. If I click one now, you may get more commands inside. But for now, the command I need to use now, I want to set a name for this switch. This is the command I need. Host name. It will give this switch a name. Oh, really? Let's check it out. So I'll just type host name. Let's say CCNA underscore UK. That's the name of this switch. Now you naming convention. It is good to name the switch based on the location of the building where the switch is located. If you have branches of, let's say, banks now, maybe you have only one switch in a particular city. Name that switch based on that city. If you are multiple in that branch, name it based on the offices or departments where they are located. The reason is so that when you are troubleshooting, it's a lot easier for you to know where you are in. Now, guys, watch out. I type host name. I said it's a command. This host name is a command. This is the name I want to give to the switch. What do I need to do? I'll just hit enter. So when I hit enter, what happened? You check it out yourself. Guys, what do you see? You can see that the name of my switch has changed to CCNA underscore UK. So whenever you are configuring your switch or your router, First thing first, name the device. And you see the progression. Name the device. So I've taught you how many commands now? 2 commands or 3 commands actually. Enable, configure terminal, host name. Enable, configure terminal, then host name. 3 commands. I'll have some things before I give room for question. What if we're done, or let me say we're not doing anything on this switch again, and we leave this environment? If anything happens to the switch, it restarts, this name has gone. Why? We didn't save our work. We didn't save this configuration. Now, this configuration we just put now, we build in a configuration file. So we need to save it. It's like when you're doing something on a laptop, you're now saving your hard drive. So we need this one that we are doing right now. This configuration file is just in the RAM. We need to copy it into the NVRAM. So how do we do that? The place we used to save is always in our privilege mode. Not that we can't save here. I will show you guys when we get there. So I want to go back, guys. I am at global configuration mode. I want to go back a step backward. I can type exit. Exit command will take me a step backward. If I hit enter right now, it gave you some information, which we are going to come to again. Hit enter again. What can you see in this place? You can see that we are now back to privilege mode. How did we come to privilege mode? I type exit. So exit command take me a step backward. So what do I want to do in this privilege mode? I want to save my work. I want to save this just configuration, this host name that we just put here right now. How can I save? Copy is a command again, another command, guys. Copy running config. What is in this RAM now? The configuration file that you have in this RAM right now, help me put it somewhere that is safe in case the switch restarts. Copy running config. What you have in the RAM now. So, to where? We're going to tell the switch into startup config. Now, the permanent one in the NVRAM is called startup config. Some people call the one that is there a backup configuration file. So this one will be in the RAM, and this one will be in NVRAM. NVRAM. And don't forget, I've introduced to you, NVRAM is like your hard drive, where we store our configuration file. So if I say copy running config, I'm telling copy my configuration file that is in the RAM, get a copy into the NVRAM, name it startup config. So if I hit enter right now, you'll see that my switch will tell me the name of this file at that location will be startup config. If you're okay with that, you hit enter. If you want to change the name, you give any name. I'm okay with that. Once it shows you building configuration, that means we have copied our work, our configuration. So as you are configuring, save your work. As you configure, save your work. Copy running config, startup config. I'm moving what is in the RAM, a copy of it into the NVRAM. So if for any reason now, this router, this switch will restart, or somebody shut it down, it will come back with that same name. Let's find out. I want to restart this switch. Another command, I can use reload. Reload is a command. I can as well go to the switch does not have power button. That's another thing you need to know. I can just go to where the switch is plugged and off it, and then on it back. It will restart. But I can also restart from command line. So if I say reload, hit enter, it asks me, are you sure you want to reload? Yes, I want to reload. Now I'm going to say something about this thing you are seeing. Now the switch is restarting. This thing you are looking at here is the operating system decompressing from the flash into the RAM. Decompressing from the flash into the RAM. Operating system is decompressing because it's compressed. If I hit enter right now, what did you see, guys? I am still with the CCNA underscore UK name because we gave a name, we save our job. Exactly. We have a long journey, you guys, only on this switch today. Are we good? We're going to move further to another level. Toby, are we good? Menga, are we good? Ali, are we good?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We dey push, sir. Hey, but this
Well,
one,
push. Ah.
I'm telling maybe it's because I don't know, sir. Maybe when I listen to it again. But let's say it had pass subnet, you know.
No. It's not hard. It's not hard. You just need to be. I think you have a divided attention now because you are going
Eh,
somewhere.
Okay, maybe okay, if only me I understand. Yes, yes.
If I have divided attention, I behave like that too. When you now come back to the thing later, you now be wonder why was this thing looking hard before now? But this is what separates the big boys from the small boy, or let me say the men from the boys in networking. And we are just warming up. So we're moving on, guys. Okay, I reloaded my switch. And of course, the switch brought me back to user executive mode. So it therefore means this switch does not have a password. Anybody can just come into this switch and do whatever they like. It's like you bought a computer, the computer does not come with password. Do you want to leave that system like that? You don't want to do that. Okay, what do? We need to password this switch. So how do we password the switch? So we want a situation whereby when next we reload this switch, it will ask us for password first before it brings us to this user executive mode. So how do we do that? We go back to global configuration mode. We type enable, we type configure terminal. Don't forget I say you can only do major changes at global configuration mode. Configure terminal. Watch out now, watch out. I want to password my user's executive mode. This place. And how did we access this place? Through console. We access this place through console. So I want to password this user executive mode so that when next we come, the switch will ask us for password before you can give us this access. Because if somebody get access to this place, then you can begin to work on your switch. How do we do that? Line of command. We'll say line console 0. Guys, why are we saying line console 0? Recall that we plug to the console port. So we are entering into that port now with this command, line console 0. Give me access into the console port. I want to do something with that console port. The moment I hit enter, take note of something here. My prompt has changed again. This is what we call line configuration mode. Right now, I am in the console port. So what do I want to do in the console port? I want to password the console port, so I will put password. Let's say Cisco. That is my password. The command is password. The password itself is Cisco. I'll hit enter. Am I done? If I stop there, my job is not done. I have to say effect that thing with the command again. And that command is login. I'll hit enter. And guess what? I'm done with that stage. Look at what I just did. Do show history. I'm going to show you this command later. Look at the set of commands. Three line of commands. Line console 0. I enter into the console port. Password, that's the command. Then I say Cisco. Then I say login. If you don't say login, nothing will happen. And that's it. We're done here. So now we can come down from here, save our job again, and reload this out and see. So guess what? I am supposed to go to privilege mode to save. So I type exit first. It takes me a step backward from config line to global configuration mode. I'll type exit again. It takes me to privilege mode. But when we come to this level again, you will see that we can just fly straight to privilege mode by pressing Ctrl Z on our keyboard. So exit command takes you a step backward. So right now, don't forget the command we used that earlier, copy running config. But I can use one old command that still works, right? Write commands, save your job for you. Save your configuration file from RAM into NVRAM. If I put right now, it has saved my work for me. Now guys, watch. Let me reload. By the time this thing is done loading, you will see that it's going to ask us for a password. Bam. What did you guys see? What did you see, guys? Did you see that this switch is asking us for a password? Can you see that?
Yes,
Am
sir.
I the only one see? Yeah, Benga, can you see? Toby, can you see?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Because who put the password? Me. Why? For security reason. So I have secured that line console 0. So I need to put a password. And the password I put is Cisco. I have just typed it. Take note. When you are putting the password, it does not show on the screen. When you put a password, it does not show on the screen. Then I will hit enter. And now I am in user executive mode. These are the basics. First steps you must learn first. I've not finished. You have 2 or 3 more stuffs to be added. Then we are done with this stage. And you must learn that part. So you see why I decided to reduce my trainings, my classes to 2 for most of my old students. When we got to this big area, they were just carrying over labs for me, practicals. It was just difficult for them because they were not having time to do labs. So you cannot afford to do that if you want to help yourself in this class. As we finish any technology like this, and I send the assignment, the labs will be done. I will teach you in the lab, in the class, just like I'm teaching now. I will teach you and then send you the one Cisco design for you to practice on your own. If you know what is good for you, just do those things. Okay, we are not done with this thing. I can go to privilege mode again. Bam. Do you see that the switch did not ask me for any password to go to privilege mode? That is still not available. I mean, acceptable. We want to have at least 2 passwords, one for users mode, one for privilege mode. So I say, I have only 1 password. No, I don't want. I need to protect that second prompt also. I need to protect the privilege mode. So how do I protect the privilege mode? Back to your global configuration mode again. Good news with privilege mode is that's only 1 command, 1 line. I will say enable password. That means I am trying to password that command or that privilege mode because we use that command enable to go to privilege mode. So I will now say enable password. Let's say class. Oh, yes, let's say class. Enable password class. If I hit enter right now, I'm done. Then I can go to my privilege mode. Now, this time around, I will use Ctrl Z. Press enter. Save my job. Reload this switch. You will see right now, by the time this switch comes back, it will ask us for password. Now we have 2 passwords. One is Cisco, one is class. If I hit enter right now, it's asking me for password. Which password will I put? Cisco or class, guys?
Class.
Class. Toby, what do you say?
Class, sir.
What about Aliyu?
Yeah, class, sir.
Are you sure?
Yes.
There are 2 passwords. One is Cisco, one is class. Cisco is for users mode, class is for privilege mode. Where are we going to access first when we enter?
Yeah, privilege
When,
mode, yeah.
when we enter the switch, when the switch is done booting, which prompt will be the first prompt it will give to us?
It's the Cisco you enter first, sir.
So why did you say class?
Sorry, sir. It was a mistake.
What about Toby?
The
When you
Cisco
So
you
enter
why
your
did
enter is when they, yeah, the Cisco
when
you
you
enter.
enter first, we want to access the users mode. And the password we configure for users mode is Cisco. You cannot go to privilege mode until you have gone to this mode successfully. Until when you want to now go to this place, that's when you put class because that is the new password for this environment. So you need to know the difference between the two. Your first access into the switch is users mode. If you have configured Cisco, you use Cisco for that environment to access that environment. When you are not trying to move to privilege mode, then you give the other password. Please don't mix them up.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
That was why I
Yes,
put
sir.
the question to you guys so that you understand this. Ali, is it clear? Or you want to run away from me now?
No, you be like, say I go watch this thing again. Though. I will watch this thing
Ah,
again, sir.
no be only
Yes, you
Cisco.
continue watching it now. It's not something that you can just.
Eh,
Yes.
You
be like
don't.
saying that China would speak like this. Hmm.
Uh,
Even because
maybe
my
when
mind
you
no
are,
day. Yeah.
maybe when
Yeah.
you get your attention in the house fully.
Yes.
This is what why Cisco is Cisco. Why Cisco is expensive. Why they pay a network engineer, because you operate at the command line. Everything we're going to be doing from now on is command, 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 command. One of my seniors I taught in Ghana, he said, how is he going to learn all these commands and know them? I say it's by practice, step by step. You do labs, you do labs, you listen to the video, you judge step by step. If you don't have time for this, you cannot do it. You can do CCNA. You can get away with A plus and cyber security training, even if you don't have enough time. But you can't get away with CCNA without enough time. Okay, so guys, let's continue. So I will put Cisco. Now you say that I am in users mode. Now if I type enable right now, I want to go to privilege mode. It will now ask me for another password. And that is when I will now put class before I will now enter into the switch. These are part of the first stage. You need to know how to change the name, how to navigate from one prompt to another prompt to another prompt, how to move back from those prompts, step by steps, how to save your work, how to password the user's mode and the privilege mode. I have other things I want to add. Do you guys need break? Maybe
Yes, sir. Please, a little break.
10 minutes break, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'll see you guys in 10 by 10:10.
Okay, sir.
All right, so let's go ahead and finish what's I have a target for this class. When we get there, then we'll call it a day. So we've learned a few things. We want to continue from where we stopped. I said you can give the switch a name, you can password the switch, and guess what? Another thing you can do for the switch, you can give the switch an IP address. That's the same way I was giving computer IP addresses you guys saw when I was building LAN in some other classes to check, to demonstrate one or two things. We can give the switch an IP address here. Don't forget, we always go back to our global configuration mode. Watch out, another command line time or command time. I want to give this switch an IP address. I will enter into an interface called VLAN1. It's not a physical port on the switch, it's a logical port. Interface VLAN1. From my global configuration mode, I will hit enter. Now watch out what's going on here. My prompt has changed to config if, and that is called interface configuration mode. Interface configuration mode. My port has changed to config if. So what do I want to do here? That's where we give the switch an IP address. So the command to give the switch an IP address is IP address. Then I'll put the IP address of the switch. Let's assume I want to give this switch 192.168.1. Let's say 10. Then spacebar 255.255.255.0. What is that one? You guys know what it is. That's our subnet mask. I will hit enter. And then the interface needs to be activated. I will say no shutdown. I will hit enter. When you see all of this information, hit enter again. Then I can go down to my privilege mode and save my job. Control Z now. I didn't go a step backwards, step by step. I just press Control Z and then I'm there. Then I can save my work. Right. I've given this switch an IP address. How do we see all of this configuration we have been putting all this while since we started this class? New command, guys. We want to see the RAM. And what we want to see in the RAM is the configuration file. So the command to see that is show running config. I want to see what is in the RAM. You remember I told you running configuration file is in the RAM. So when you tell the switch, can I see that configuration file? You hit enter. It begin to show you that these are all the things you have in the configuration file. There are some configurations that are there by default. There are some we added. I'm going somewhere, guys. Follow me. Look at what we did. We gave the switch name. Look at our configuration commands in the configuration file. We said enable password plus. That was when we give a privilege mode password. Now look at what we just did right now. Interface VLAN 1. We give an IP address and subnet mask. That is also in the configuration file. We also configure line console 0 with the password of Cisco, and we said login. That is also in the configuration file. These are some of the basics you need to know. So you should be able to check the configuration file, and then the command is just show running config. Can I see what is in the configuration file? Why will you want to do that? Maybe to confirm what you have done. Maybe some things are not lining up. You want to say, what did they put there? Let me see what they put in that configuration file. Meaning, what did they configure on this device? Why is this device behaving like this? You check the configuration file. That's another command. So what did we do? We gave the switch an IP address. So why do you give the switch IP address? For management purposes. Take note of that. We give the switch an IP address for management purposes. What do I mean by that? Let's assume I am in the server room. This switch you are looking at here now will be in the server room. This switch will be in the server room with me here. I am the network engineer. I'm in the server room with this switch. Then I'm done configuring. I remove my console cable. People are connected to the switch in our organization. Then I'm in another building somewhere and they are saying, something is happening. No, we don't know what is going on. No. And I need to enter into that switch. I don't have to go to the server room to enter into the switch. Because the switch has an IP address, I can use that IP address to execute a remote login. That's why we need to activate this technology or this protocol. Telnet, we talked about it before. So, but if the switch doesn't have an IP address and I do not activate this telnet, there's no way I can enter that switch to see what is going on. So you don't have to be in the server room physically with the switch. You can be anywhere in your office or outside of the office or anywhere in the world, as long as you have reachable IP address, you can enter that device and see what is going on. So we gave the switch an IP address for management purposes, guys. Management purposes. Let me show you another thing here. For instance, right now, this same, let's connect another laptop to this switch or a desktop. Anyone, doesn't make a difference. And then let's give this particular computer an IP address. You guys know about IP addressing now. 192.168.1.2, for instance. And then subnet mask, regular subnet mask or default subnet mask. Now I've given this computer an IP address. The computer is on my switch. Now I want to find out, can this computer reach this switch? Why will I want to do that? Before you can try to telnet, you must be able to reach the switch first. I take it again. Before you can have a remote login into your switch, that is using telnet, which is not advisable. We're going to learn how to use SSH. That will be in another class. You must be able to reach the switch, meaning the switch must be reachable via ping. Ping operates at layer 3. SSH and telnet operate at layer 7. If you cannot establish a layer 3 connection, forget about layer 7. So I deliberately gave this guy an IP address, and we have given our switch an IP address. So can we find out if this switch is reachable before we even talk about telnets later? That's what we're going to show down the class today. So let's say now, I now go to the command prompt and say ping 192.168.1.10. That's the IP address we gave the switch. We want to know if this computer can reach the switch. If the switch can hear us, the computer is going to show us that that switch is reachable. You can see the switch is replying. That means this switch, the IP address we put on the switch is reachable. That is one of the reasons why we put an IP address on the switch so that we can test for connectivity. Or maybe they call you in another building. These people are not browsing again. You can find out, is the switch there, is it powered? So you don't need to go to that building to find out if the switch there is powered. Once you know the IP address of that switch, you just ping that switch. If the switch reply, that means the switch is alive. If it does not reply, you mean that then probably the switch is dead, or they didn't power that building, or the switch in that building. These are some of the reasons why you need to put IP address on the switch. And the most important reason of all why we put an IP address on the switch is so that we can log into the switch remotely from wherever we have without using console through the network connection and configure that switch. And we're going to do that now before we leave today. Is this one clear, guys? Give the switch an IP address. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
beautiful. So now, I want to do one more thing with the switch before we call it a day. I want to configure this switch for remote access. Meaning what? I want to be able to telnet into the switch. Don't forget, we always go back to the lower configuration mode. And then we're going to say, now what we want to do now is to be able to telnet. How do we set up this switch for remote login? Telnet precisely. We say line. The other time we say line console 0. This time is different. Line VTY. The VTY line is what we use to log in remotely. Virtual terminal lines. Line VTY 0. They have more than 16 virtual terminal line. If I say 0 is okay for me, one of the lines is okay, I will hit enter. You will see that this prompt is still like the same prompt we had the other time. But this time around, we're in a different environment. We're in a virtual terminal line where we can have a remote login to this switch. So I can say now, I want to put the password. The password is, let's say, test or testing, or let's just say remote. Let's say remote. And don't forget, login. What did I just do? Show history. Look at what I just did here. Line VTY 0. Password is remote. Then I said login. And don't forget to save your work. WR, right? I've saved my job. So what have I done to this switch right now? This is my computer that is pinging the switch before. That we used to ping the switch. We can remove that console connection and we will still be able to configure this switch. Or we'll still be able to access that switch. But this time around, we're not passing through the console to configure the switch. Look at what we established before. We established a console connection. We can get rid of this right now. The same computer that is on the network, that is browsing, that is doing a lot of data stuff, can be used to access the command line, but not through the console port, through the regular port. But that switch must have been configured with telnet. So now, if I do that for you right now, you see, we've configured that switch. How do we access the switch? First of all, make sure that the switch is accessible. We can ping it and it's replying. Then I can now say telnet, guys, 192.168.1.10. I'm simply saying I need a remote access to the owner of this IP address, which happens to be our switch. The moment you will hit enter right now, because we are trying to enter into the switch, we have configured an IP address. It's going to ask us for IP password. Now, the password is asking for now, guys. Take note now. There are 3 passwords on this switch now. This is where people get confused. One is Cisco for users mode. One is class for privilege mode. Now we have a new password, remote. Do you know what that one is for? Also, users mode, but that is if you are coming remotely. If you are entering the switch through console port, you use Cisco to access users mode. But if you are coming remotely, spiritually, to enter into that device, you use remote command. I mean, your remote password. Am I making sense, guys? That means for users mode right now, there are 2 passwords. One was configured through console. One was configured for VTY. The console is when we are plugged directly to the switch. The VTY is when we are coming here remotely to the switch. But both commands, both password rather, will give us user access mode. So you need to know when to give Cisco and when to give remote. Did that make sense? Toby?
Yes, sir.
Benga?
Yes, sir.
Okay, beautiful. So now, there are 2 commands. So the guy has waited for me tired, so he closed that connection. So I'm going to give remotes. Now, if I give Cisco now, you see that it's going to tell me it's not going to respond. So I'm going to say remotes. Guess what? The moment I type the remote and hit enter, I am in the UK. I'm in CCNA UK, which is our switch. How did I enter? Through my regular computer, through my regular network connection, not console. And everything we were doing through the console, we can do it here now also. So what is the advantage of this one? As long as there is network connection, it doesn't matter where you are in the organization or outside of the organization. Once you can ping that switch and they give you telnet access, or they configure that device for telnet access or SSH access, you can enter into that device remotely. That's when you get people working remotely, because they can work on devices. Or let me say, I can give you support remotely. Maybe you're working with an organization and there's an issue and then you need my support. As long as the permission is given, I can help you go, okay, give me the IP address, let me check, give me the IP address and the password. I will telnet. That means I will travel spiritually and enter into that device and begin to do things on that device as if I am with that device physically. So there is no difference between you and her. You are in the server room, you plug two console. I came through the spirit realm and I'm in that switch. And I can do everything you're also doing. But this will only work because we have configured the switch for telnet session. So if you did not configure the switch, this will not work. You configure the switch for telnet. Now, our next class, we're going to tell you, don't ever use telnet, use SSH. We're going to configure, set up the switch for SSH. These are stuff you need to know. Lots taught within short period this morning. So many commands. Almost, if I'm not mistaken now, we have 10 commands. Toby, are you jotting?
Sir?
Are you jotting?
Oh yes, yes. Although the
Okay.
commands, I didn't write them down, but I'll write them when I'm rewatching the video.
Okay, beautiful. Yes, Benga, you have a question. Go ahead. Benga, I saw your hand.
Yes, sir. Sir, this telnet, if you want to like log in remotely,
Mm.
is there any application that you use to
Beautiful question.
yes, sir.
On the computer, you can just use your command line, just like what we did here.
Okay,
Did you see
sir.
what I did? Eh?
Yes, sir.
I
Yes,
just
sir.
type, where is it? Telnet. Are you
Okay.
flowing with me?
Okay.
But if you
Inside the
don't want
command
to,
line. Okay. All right.
yes, but if you don't want to use command line, you can launch PuTTY. Look at PuTTY here. Look at telnet option here. I can select that I want to telnet. Telnet runs on port 23. I'll just type the IP address of that switch. As long as I can
Yes, sir.
ping that switch,
Yes, sir.
so PuTTY will also connect you into the switch and give you its own environment where you
Okay, sir.
can do your stuffs. Beautiful
Un-
question.
Understood, sir.
So you can telnet from command line and you can use this application PuTTY to telnet into the switch, and you will work on the switch as if you are with it physically.
Okay, sir. Understood, sir. Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes.
Any other question, guys? So I don't want this thing to take too long and to stay too long. So I have part 2 of this switch. That's where I'm going to show you some other stuffs like SSH. Okay, so now what else do I want to show you guys? I don't think I have anything to say. Okay, I can get out of this telnet section. When I say exit, it cut me off. I'm back to my regular computer. And so the choice is mine now. I have a console connection. I have a data connection, but I can also use this data connection to access the switch. I can also use this data connection to access the switch. These are part of the basics, guys. Another part of the basics I've not talked about, we can set time on our switch, the switch time. We can check, what is it called? It banner MOTD. We'll take care of that one in another class, and so on and so forth. Maybe another time I'm teaching this, I will take care of all of this before I come to this part here. You know, I evolve when as I'm training too. But don't go yet. I need to show you guys one thing. Back to our console port. Let's check our configuration file. Show running config. So you see our password here. Enable password is class. Okay. Line console 0 password is Cisco. Line VTY password is remote. So all my passwords are showing in plain text. Plain text in what is it called? In the configuration file. They're in plain text. It therefore means if anybody is looking behind me right now, they can see my console password. They can see my remote password, VTY password. They can even see my privileged mode password. And we don't want this. Is there a way to encrypt these stuffs? Make it look unreadable. For the line console, for the line VTY, and even the enable password, is there a way to do that? Yes, of course. For security reason. So we can activate that. What do we do? For line console 0 and line VTY, watch out. I'll just go to privilege mode. That's another way, a way to shorten it now. You're going to learn as we proceed. I will just say service password encryption. Just one line of command. Service password encryption. If I hit enter right now, go back and show running config. Go down. Guys, look at what our password became for line console 0. Our password for line VTY, look at what it became. If somebody is looking behind me right now, they cannot really make sense of this password. What happened? We encrypted it. Just that the encryption we put now is a weak encryption. It's a level 7 encryption. We can do better, but we're going to leave it there. Service password encryption. Just encrypt my line console password, encrypt my line VTY password. So if somebody is looking behind me right now, they cannot see this. Just one line of command. Service password encryption. But go up, you will see that this did not touch our enable password. Sorry, actually touches some, but this is not recommended for enable password for privilege mode. So for privilege mode, it's also at level 7. We have a better way to make this one stronger. That is for privilege mode. For line console and line VTY, there's no other way to do it that I know. So you can say our privilege mode password is level 7 encryption. We can do better. And the command to make that one level 5, which is stronger, is enable secret. If you watch the video from the beginning, you will see that when we put password for privilege mode, we said enable password. So instead of saying enable password again, I will say enable secret. The password is Cisco. Let's say Cisco 1. No. Our password for privilege mode is class rather. Let's say class 1 or class 2, whatever, to replace the other one. So what am I trying to do, guys? If I hit enter right now, my new password for privilege mode will be class 2. And it's going to be encrypted. And it's going to be a stronger encryption. You watch it now. If I hit enter right now and go back to show running config, you will see enable secret 5. That is the encryption algorithm. MD5. Look at my password. And this has replaced this one. So somebody cannot make sense of this. These are some of the things you need to know. So don't just stay with the basis of line console 0, line VTY, enable password. How can we protect those passwords again? By encryption. That's another level you need to know. You need to learn. Learn to protect your password by encrypting them. Don't just put password, encrypt them. Setting time is not a big deal. Let's check time. I always forget it's show clock. Look at the time on our switch. The time is not correct. It's showing 1993. We don't like that. We can set the time. I hope I can remember the command. That one is at privilege mode. Let me say clock. Yes, set. You see what I'm doing? I am using question mark to navigate. Clock, set. So you see, I need to see the other hour first, followed by minutes, followed by seconds, with separated by columns. So I will say 10, 35, then 00. Then the next one is months. I always mix this one up. Month of the year. That is we're in June now. I always forget whether it is 7. Let me type 6. 6 June. No. Okay, maybe 06. 06. Then today is 4th, right? 06 4th. Let me see 2025. I hope it worked that way. Aha. I always mix up. Let me see maybe this column. 6. Just be patient with me. Let me trying to crack my brain on this. Okay, maybe it's dash 04 dash 2025. And I have to go and check the curriculum for this one. I always forget. Once I get to this time thing, I always forget this. Let me try. Or I think it's space. No, it cannot be space. But I will leave this one. Maybe in our next class, I will have check it and get back to you guys. So we need to learn how to set time on our device. Set the time. Rotate all your password. Put an IP address. The last thing I would have loved to add, I don't want to confuse you guys, is SSH. And even me, I can't remember those set of commands. But I want to teach in another class. So we'll do time, we'll do SSH, and that will be all. So I'm going to send the lab to you guys. So how do you do the lab? You just launch it on your... Have you guys installed Packet Tracer? Bing, have you installed Packet Tracer?
So you've not